son. Where'd you find this?
Buckle up, buttercups. It's time to get down to business. It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. Totally legit.
It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. We're back, and today we're joined by the elusive Mo Motaleb.
TLB. Here we go.
We're here, taking care of business, my guy. What's going on, dude?
Nothing much, man. Just enjoying some downtime, some family time. Gathering our thoughts and our plans for next year. That's it.
Yeah. Now is that weird period where everyone is checked out of everything.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. You know what? I feel like for the most part, I feel like there's some people out there that are checked in. They're like, "Yo, fuck this. I'm not taking a break. Just gonna work through it.
Rise and grind, baby."
But I'm happy to take some time off and chill and do this with you, man. It's exciting.
Yeah. We're gonna really get into it. There's a whole bunch of shit that I have been meaning to pick your brain about, and I think it might just be easy. Let's just break this down. We know each other from the hard, grueling days working events and event production. Oh, yeah. And I have never asked, how did you get involved in this shit?
Well, so actually I went to, I'll start from the beginning. From the beginning, like I had a friend, a neighbor, that he used to make beats. And like he used to, we used to like stand outside our building and like freestyle and like, this is like some real fucking, they don't do this anymore type shit. Like,
yeah,
late 90s, early 2000s. And then he got me into beat making. He showed me Reason, and then he showed me how to make beats. And then I just fucking went nuts with that. And then from there, I just was like, yo, I just want to be a part of like creating, just like making stuff.
Yeah.
So I went to Brooklyn Tech and my major was media there. And then after that, was a little bit of a troublemaker, so I didn't do too great, but I made it into college and I went to City Tech, and that was for entertainment technology. And while I was there, I met a young woman named, I'll call her LG, just tonight, because she's low key. She doesn't have an Instagram or anything like that. But I met her, and we kind of became best friends. And she just started introducing me to stuff. She was like, "Hey, maybe you're doing some things to make money that aren't the greatest things, but maybe you could come and do some of this with me too." And I ran with it. I think like my first real gig was like Izu, like early on Izu. Then you just start meeting people. I was introduced to DJ, that's how I kind of got introduced to you.
Yeah. He used
some of the festival stuff. Yeah. So yeah, and then, I try to work hard and like not leave a bad taste in anybody's mouth that I met. So, that just kind of spread word of mouth. And then, my whole career early on was just word of mouth. Just, hey, Mo, I got a gig. Do you want to take it? And it just kept rolling from there. And then, yeah. And then that's how we eventually met. I think did we meet at Afropunk, I think, or you?
Yeah, I can't remember what event. I came up here. I moved up here in like 2014, 2015.
Okay.
Around summertime.
That was a good time to move here.
Yeah, no. I planned that basically. Another Dan Jones connection, but basically, when I lived in Nashville, Bonnaroo occurred right around the corner, right? And I can't remember I guess I did Bonnaroos first. So I did a couple Bonnaroos because it was like 40 minutes. I lived in Murfreesboro, which is just south of Nashville, and that's right north of Manchester.
I've done Bonnaroo, so I know exactly.
I know
the sketchy ass hotels and all that shit.
Oh yeah, dude, it's real Deliverance territory out there for sure.
like billboards with just guns.
Yep. Yeah, and those are the good ones. Those are like the best billboards. You're like, oh, thank
guns, God. Guns and firecrackers.
Thank God it's one of those, and not one of these other ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started doing those, and at some point, I guess I did a couple Bonnaroos, or maybe I did one Bonnaroo, and then I did a Coachella, and I met Dan at Coachella. And like Dan would occasionally get me work, even when he was in New York. If there was something going on in Tennessee or even like Atlanta or something, he would like try and get me into that after we had met at Coachella. But then I was kind of done with Nashville and I was going to move up here. And he's like, dude, if you're going to move up before summer, I'll get you work.
Yeah.
And that I'm sure we met at one of the events that I did that summer. I think one of the first things I did out there was maybe Izu. Because I don't think I did Afropunk the first year that I was in New York.
Well, we might have met there, but I don't know. I don't even know if I was doing Izu at that point. I think I did it like 1 or 2 years, and then I think regimes change like every few so often. So,
dude, Izu, that festival is always a fucking shit show. Like just that festival as a whole, it's like a whole bunch of people really spun up on dust. It's just chaos, dude. The whole thing is fucking chaos.
Well, that's why I find like, sometimes that's how events are. And like, just certain businesses, it's like, if you want the headache, it's fucking yours. Like, because,
Yeah, definitely.
So it's your money to make. So, but, yeah, no, Izu holds a special place with me, but at the same time, I might never go again at the same time. So, yeah. So
yeah, I don't blame you. That's an intense scenario. I mean, even Bonnaroo, like even the best Bonnaroo, it's an intense experience. Just like the conditions out there are fucking rough.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like, I like Complex Con as a festival because it's half indoor, half outdoor. Like how convenient is that? Oh
wow, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to be able to like, all right, I could use like a real bathroom, break it up, go sit on a couch. Like you're just not going to get at some of these other ones that Coachella, you're walking 1,000,000 miles, from end to end.
Yeah,
and it's a hell of an experience, but it's a lot. So
yeah, dude, super cool to do once. Like, even Bonnaroo, like, I'm glad I at least did one of those. Because it was cool,
Bonnaroo's great. I feel like Bonnaroo's it's like a spiritual experience, too. Like Electric Forest, my first time doing Electric Forest, just like not knowing what to expect and walking through the forest, getting lost in the forest, and, just the way they set it up. Like, all that stuff is cool. It's just, you got to try everything at least once, right? So
yeah, no, dude, for sure. Yeah. That's how I kind of got sucked into doing that work in general. It's not necessarily something I was like trying to get into doing. I was in Nashville and I was editing audiobooks. I interned at studios for a while. I was playing in bands, doing all sorts of every tier of audio production. And somebody offered me the job at Bonnaroo. But then even through that, like the people that I met doing other jobs, dude, I remember, okay, so I used to live in this little area called Berry Hill, and Berry Hill is the highest concentration of recording studios in the world. Every house in that neighborhood is a recording studio. So I had a little studio, had with a couple guys, and I got a call one day through a Bonnaroo connection, and they're like, hey, we've got a Christian artist who's playing at a Christian university around the corner, and they need a PA for the day. Could you do that? And I was like, yeah, sure. Easy couple $100. It's right around the corner. And, it was a Christian band. So it was like super chill all day. It was like I did nothing all day.
Super nice folks.
At 4 or 5 o'clock, they call me in and they're like, you look like a man of questionable morals. Could you go get some alcohol for these people and be very discreet about it? So basically, this was a Christian college campus, totally dry, no alcohol. And while the band was on stage singing songs about abstinence and not drinking or doing drugs, they had me go out and buy them all of their contraband and sneak it back onto their tour bus.
Yeah, man. I mean,
it was that was honestly, it didn't shock me, but that was I remember I was early 20s and I was like, wow, music business, entertainment industry. It's all a show. Like I'd always understood that, but it's only when I started doing this kind of work that I realized like, oh, the illusion is strong.
I mean, that's like once you're in it and you've been in it, like, and you see certain things, it's just like, like I worked at Disney World and like I've been in the tunnel and I've seen like what you think is like this incredibly, PG place behind the scenes. It's not, because, that's the reality of things, right? Like, in order to make these things work, it's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to always be squeaky clean.
People aren't going to be happy all the time. Yeah.
Like, it's work. Sometimes you like to do it. Sometimes you hate it. It's work. So, but yeah, I'm not surprised at that story. I'm not surprised. I mean, those they'll probably drink most of us under the table. So
definitely 100%. And I mean, that wasn't the last time I was asked to do that. So it was just funny that was kind of one of my first experiences doing that kind of work, and it was a precursor. Honestly, it's like 30%. All of that work that I've done, that was about 30%. Picking up somebody's contraband and bringing it back.
I've been there before.
Yeah, no, you all, like, we all have. Anybody that's done this work has done this shit, whether they knew it or not.
You know what? At
some point they were transporting contraband.
I was happy to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me either. It's whatever. And honestly, like, there's like a level of get shit done. Like, I'm convinced the reason that I got called back on as many jobs as I did is that I always brought back correct change. Like, this work isn't really hard. Like, I would just go shop for what they told me to shop for, supply them with the things that they requested, and they would call me for more work in the future. It's just so funny to me how, like, but I guess it's also one of those things too where it takes a certain kind of person to be able to be in that scenario and like be anticipating what's needed, but also out of the way, or, can be trusted around any person at all and not like get weird or be a fan. I don't know, like that's a unique thing. I definitely went through the tears of like proving myself in order to have access to certain types of jobs, like we all do.
I think some people just don't care. They're just like, oh, who's that? Like, like, I don't know. It's just like, I think, maybe everybody has that, like one or two people, or like handful that you might freak out about. But like, for the most part, they're normal people. They're normal people. And sometimes you meet them and you get to talk to them and you see like, they're normal people. They're just trying to enjoy their day like everybody else.
Or do their job.
Sometimes they want the attention. Sometimes they don't want the attention. Everybody's different. Some people feed on that. So it's just like, they'll take everything they can get. And some people, it's a business to them. And, when they're on, they're on. When they're off, they're off. Some people are just on all the time. And then, I think some people that you would think are divas or like, just arrogant are sometimes the humblest people and vice versa. So, what you see might not be the truth. It might just be an act or a show, or a character. That's why it's called show business.
Yeah,
no matter where.
Absolutely.
It could be an interview. It could be an actual show. And they're playing a part.
Yep. They're the entertainers, right?
Yeah. You gotta learn how to separate it. Once you learn how to separate it, I think that's what gives you that ability to not freak out and make people feel weird about situations.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but like the people that we would work for, I don't really listen to their music. Like, I'm gonna be totally honest, I'm not like a mainstream kind of person. So like when we would work at these major events and like these artists that would be like there'd be artists that I was aware of, but nobody that I was going to be like, oh my God, can I have your autograph? Like the bands or the acts that I want to see are going to be playing at some shitty club, 200 person max. I always loved meeting the person who was notoriously crabby. I don't know, like people who are curmudgeons, like I love that. I love watching people spaz and throw fits. I love a good dumpster fire, so it never scared me or intimidated me at all.
I think I can appreciate it all. Like
exactly.
Like I'll know who's I'm familiar with pop culture, so I know who some of those people are. But then like also there might be somebody I never met that's just like quirky and like just has great energy. I'm like, and all of a sudden I'm a fan. Like that's how it happens. So a lot of the music that I might have been introduced to is from work, which is why maybe now I'm a little bit more separated from like music, doing like music itself. I'm not as up on who the new artists are. So, but when I was like in it, it's just like it was great to be in it. It was like just like time after time of just being introduced to new music and new concepts and just like my musicality just evolving through that. So it's been great. Like watching professionals do what they do in real time. It's
pretty
just like,
fucking sweet.
Yeah, it's
from the side of the stage, like one of the best seats in the house. Like
what are they using? Like they're using that. Like that's okay. I would have never thought to use that like that. Like
yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Like even if it's not somebody whose music I would listen to, there's just something about. I'm also not like a real big sports person, but I love watching the finals because the best of the best comes out. Like you see people shine for the reasons that they shine. An artist on stage, like somebody who's like really into their shit.
It's like the Olympics. Nobody watches that shit.
No, seriously. I don't necessarily love every one of those events, but it's incredible to watch all of those people perform at their peak. Yeah. So sure. I've always felt that way. Yeah, I remember going even to shows with my parents when I was younger, like music I wouldn't listen to, but just being like, "Oh, that was a good show. This band is really good. They play really well for 2 hours. They sound great. Even if it's not I mean, plenty of artists that I've worked for, I really don't like their music, but I can appreciate their musicianship, and I love watching people fucking shred. Yeah. And however that is, if they're singing, if they're playing an instrument, if they're
I think you enjoy creativity, even if it's not the end result is not what you would have wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. I can appreciate it for what it is.
I think we're those type of people that we just enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And like, what's that process like? I've been watching a lot of like master class and like all these kind of videos and just like, you just keep falling in love. That's what you can fall in love with over and over again is the process. Even if the product sometimes may become like redundant or, just not what you want to experience.
Yeah. I've and with the events too, like, even if it wasn't something that I would be inclined to engage with, I always love watching other people do their shit. Like other people be in their zone, whatever their zone is. Like, even if it's not my thing, it's probably going to inspire me to go home and get in my zone and do. Exactly. I don't know, just like the witnessing people communicate with that higher form of expression.
But then but when also like the when it is your thing too, like when it is your thing and you got to see like how they do it, like that's just. Just thinking about that, like that side of it, like it's just.
Well, dude,
imagine how much that makes you want to go and get in your zone.
Thousands of shows I've seen. There's only been a few of those, but those are some of the most memorable experiences I've ever had. Like seeing a band that I really did want to see from that perspective, and getting to like witness the inner machinations of that thing. Those are the coolest they're boring stories to anyone else, but to me, it was like, holy shit, I'm witnessing this thing that I've only seen from the outside. I'm witnessing it right in front of my face. It's super sick.
Has it ever ruined anything for you, though?
No,
No?
dude,
Where it was like, okay, I thought it was something else.
I was distinctly aware that there's some dirty shit that goes on in this business. And every time I came across it, I just reminded myself that this is just part of this business. Shitty attitudes, shitty situations, shitty, all sorts of strange, shitty drama, stupid stuff. Anytime I would come into contact with that, I would just remind myself, how many times has somebody spoken to me in a very demeaning way? Couldn't tell you. It's happened so many times. I've been like on the receiving end of somebody's bad attitude that day. But I don't know, that it never bothered me. Yeah, that never bothered me. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they still paid me. So I still got money out of that situation. And, not every situation.
And you try not to wind up in that situation again, right? Like,
well, that's, you draw hard lines. Yeah. I think everyone has those experiences too, especially as we were starting out, just kind of getting our footing, and till we get in with like a good crew of people who get consistent jobs that are going to pay well and not jerk you around or put you in unsafe situations. And we were fortunate. We were super fortunate. The group of folks that we run around with in New York, it's like primo situations.
And New York's one of the better situations out of a bunch I've seen too. So,
dude, no question.
No shade to any other state, but it's just some states are wild, and we know that. So
yeah. I will say this though, I was warned when I came here to not work any Puff Daddy shows. And it really makes me want to ask your opinion on the Puff Daddy stuff.
I've only I've only ever worked in one show, like with for Puffy, and it was like very early on, and it was like him and Mariah. It was like it was like a whole joint thing, and I can't really say that it was an interesting party, but I can't say that I'd seen anything crazy. My opinion on all of it, oh man, these are sticky situations. I think, but I don't know. I just sometimes, and I don't know if that's the situation, but sometimes people with power, it just goes to their head, man. No matter what it is, it could be like the littlest bit of power, and it just goes to your head. It's happened to all of us, maybe not to this extreme. But yeah, I just, once you think you're untouchable in a certain situation, you just move like that. And, if he did it, if he didn't do it, he's not the only one. I think, maybe
they're already circling around Jay-Z.
Yeah. And maybe I could sway this to like, all right, well, those things happen, we're going to hopefully see the light at the end of the tunnel with any of those situations, but what can we do to make it better so that it's not happening to people? And I think over the last few years, those things are kind of happening and hopefully continue to happen where.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like what we were just saying before, like you get in with a group of people who are trustworthy, who aren't going to put you in unsafe situations.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it never happened here, but I personally never dealt with any shit like that in New York. Nobody gave me a job where I was put into a situation like that. I haven't heard personally of anybody, though I'm sure it's happened. I haven't heard about it. And I know that there's a ton of people that we work with that would never let any shit like that fly ever under any circumstance.
I think, maybe because we're men also, so it's like maybe less likely to happen. It's still liable to happen. We've seen some.
Yeah, it does happen. It does for sure happen.
Yeah. So, I'm not gonna, say I've never been like flirted with or hit on, but see, again, it's not like forced or like
violent.
or just like, hey, or you're not going to work with us anymore. So
yeah, right.
Thankfully that hasn't happened. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why there's so much, when you go to work at places, that's why there's so much HR material, because, they're trying to steer people away from even commingling the two situations. And I as much as sometimes I want to, I think it's smart to not do that. So.
There's a phrase, it's called "Don't dip your pen in the company ink."
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
I think it's a
don't sign up for Tinder with your company email.
No, seriously, it's a really reasonable practice, and I don't know, especially in that business, like that. I don't know. All I'm saying is that of the situations where you kind of get you can possibly get taken advantage of, that kind of work in that industry is one where you can really get taken advantage of.
But you know what? At the same time, like, sometimes you could use it to boost your career. Not that you would want to, but some people would do that.
Yeah, I mean that is a component.
Being a good looking person, I don't think hurts people. You know what I mean? So
no,
some people would
and I'm sure,
utilize that.
Yeah, I'm sure that has been. Yeah, that is a form of currency, especially in the entertainment business.
In most industries, but entertainment,
especially this
when
one.
People want to be seen and want to see,
I don't know, the Puff Daddy thing is fucking tripping me out, and like the thing that's tripping me out the most is like it's just not stopping. It's like. So he's like got multiple assassination attempts. Like they're going to try and tie him to Biggie's death. Like they're really going after it. All the shit with Cassie. And then, there's been some stuff about Jay-Z too. No like formal allegations or anything like with the Puffy stuff, but.
I mean, but also like I thought I saw something the other day where it's like, most of the rappers, even rock stars, certain people that we idolized coming up, their behavior wasn't the best behavior, right? And now, you go watch a movie from the 90s or the 80s, even then, which is not that long ago, and you'll see some stuff that you'll be like, you question now. They drop the F-bomb and not fuck, like, like they used to drop that all the time, and it's just like, certain ways certain people were looked at or just made fun of
sure
in those days is inappropriate now. And, we could say that like, people's behaviors sexually were also like a little bit crazy. But hopefully, again, hopefully people learn to respect each other more.
Dude, like, just being honest, I don't care if you want to get onto some freaky shit. That doesn't bother me. It's when you want to get onto some violent shit. When you start beating people up in the process of your sexual gratification, or when you start blowing cars up. That's a level of insanity that's now encroaching on other people's ability for peace. I
mean, listen, like, people watch movies a lot. They think they're the person in the movie, and
dude, absolutely.
How much of that is just like out there, for you to consume, and again, people don't, you got to be able to separate reality from some of those things that you see in media, and again, like nobody's untouchable. As much as we could think anybody's, most people are not. I think they'll find out, and especially like when it comes to things like that. Like, but yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. At the same time, we don't know what's true. So like, you have to
allegedly.
You have to
allegedly.
Yeah. So
yeah, I something that's always pissed me off too, and it's like I was always this way, even kind of before it became a thing to do. Like everyone loves the band Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
And I have looked into the history of Led Zeppelin, and based on their behavior, I don't want to hear their music. I have a problem separating the art from the artist. And like that's one thing about doing this work that has been really funny to me. Because just like you, I would come into contact with someone whose music I didn't give a shit about, but they were so nice, I support them now. Yeah. I'll listen to their music and, you know, whatever, in whatever way I can like and share their content, I will do that. On the converse, there's been people whose music I don't give a shit about, but then they were assholes. So now I go out of my way to discourage them from making music. You know, like that's it's.
Tell me more.
I can't separate the art from the artist in the sense that, like, especially if your art resonates with me, but I know you're a piece of shit, it can't resonate with me anymore. Like I might love a band's music, but then I hear about what they were doing with underage people, and I don't want to listen to their music at all again.
I think that's where the allegedly comes in again, right? Because, like, you know, whatever happened with Michael Jackson's case, and they still, you know, you'll still hear that in the mall. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. Like, you know, and on the radio.
I mean, people will straight up get violent with you about Michael Jackson and R. Kelly, for that matter.
Yeah.
If you try and take away that, and dude, I loved R. Kelly, but once I start to hear about the things that he did,
he made some timeless music, but he did
Ashanti alone,
just some crazy.
Dude, it's like crazy. I don't want to support that.
Wait,
I don't want.
R. Kelly did something to Ashanti? Oh, I missed that one. No. You're thinking of Aaliyah, not Ashanti.
Duh, my bad. That's my bad. Yeah. But just knowing what he did to me.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was crazy.
Like that.
But did you hear that? That's why Jay-Z and his business partner Dame had issues also, because Jay-Z did music with R. Kelly. And Dame wasn't feeling it because, you know, because what he did to his girl.
Dame heard the truth. And yeah, no, seriously, like that's, and I guess from my perspective, it's like, I don't even want to stream the music. I don't want him getting pennies. I don't want to support it at all, because that's what it was paying for.
Even
for that behavior, you know?
Even you get peer pressure. Like if you're listening to R. Kelly out loud in public, people will be like, "Yo, you know, turn that off." Like, what are you doing? Yeah. Like, you know, and rightfully so. Yeah, like it's just I think that it gets hard to keep up with it at times too. Or like, who did what?
Impossible.
Like,
yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. Well, and dude, like the more. This is what I was saying kind of before about Led Zeppelin is like. I don't, the music that I listen to, the list gets smaller and smaller, because the more I find, like when I get into an artist, I want to know everything about them. And the more I read about them, typically the less I like them, you know, like you just find out more about what that thing is about, or like the real story or history. Any of the bands that were big in the 80s, they were on some scum shit. They did some like real abusive stuff, and they learned that behavior from the rock stars of the 70s and the 60s and all those squeaky clean people. Oh my gosh. Hang on a second. 1 second here. My audio.
It rang on your computer?
Oh my god.
You hear that?
Yeah.
We're just gonna put a commercial here.
1 second. Yeah, exactly. How about that? How's that sound?
Much better. And
much better. Okay. Back. Yeah, dude. This
episode of TLB.
I'm telling you, we're doing it. It's this damn. Let me just also make sure my audio here is working right. right, cool. Yeah. I think we're good, right?
Yeah. I sound even better. So
Okay, cool. Here we go. Sick. Yeah, this damn fucking audio problems. Someone called me. That phone call came through on my computer. The computer now didn't know what to do with that audio, and it made that digital sound. Before, that software was doing that with everything. It ruined 2 fucking episodes. I was talking, and then in the middle of talking, it turned into like that digital crunchy sound. Super cool.
Is that even like a good idea to take cell phone calls on your computer? Like,
no, I honestly have always hated that. I really hated that they integrated phone calls and the
messenger.
Apple ID.
Well, I guess the messengers.
I hate that. You know, I always think that I've shut it off, but I apparently never have, and it just continues to happen. But anyways, what were we talking about right before all of that happened?
We were talking about power, just like how, you know, bands in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, rappers in the 90s, early 2000s, maybe even 80s, probably rappers just taking advantage of people. And I don't know, man. It's just like maybe I'm not gonna rationalize anything, but I just feel like when you're given all of that, you know, and you can't say no, that's how you get in trouble.
Basically, yeah.
Right. Like to me, I look at like I know a lot of people might dislike him, but LeBron has had like a squeaky clean career, you know, besides like stuff that's in basketball itself. He's got like no controversy, and just like you can move like that. That's ideal. You know, not all publicity is good publicity. So, but yeah.
It'll just be interesting to see, like, you know, what all comes from that, and like what really does it mean, like what other than answering, you know. It is what I've always loved, though, is like, as time passes, people get older, people get closer to dying, people start saying shit, and you get like the backstory with whatever that scenario was, and then you go back and you like watch the interviews and videos of that time, and you're like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. Like Aaliyah, like once I became old enough and cognizant to understand what was going on there, going back and like looking at and then watching the R. Kelly doc, like the same thing. Like they go back to the very beginning and analyze, and like you see in the interviews, like their relationship and their dynamic taking on this like strange, I don't know. It's like,
I still haven't seen that. Somebody told me I should watch that.
It's fucked. It's fucked.
I've seen like snippets, but I haven't.
Fucked.
I don't think I have the heart to watch the whole thing.
You should though, because it's like when you understand the level of sadism. And again, dude, like R. Kelly is not the only person in show business. This shit has been going on for a long time. It was like kind of, especially at that level, it's like a rite of passage almost. Yeah, like, you know, the Weinstein, the same thing. Like there was a bunch of around the Me Too when they were talking about Weinstein at like all the award shows and how could we let this happen and blah, 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 blah. I couldn't help but wonder at these award shows, these film award shows, 50% of the people there still want to do business with Harvey Weinstein. Like 50% of the people there are also into some fucking shisty, shady behavior. Weinstein is just the one that got rolled up and scapegoated, you know?
I mean, I feel like it's like Trump, and I don't want to get into politics, but like he makes money off of his name, right? Like whether it's good or bad, you know what I mean? He could still sell it to one side or the other and make money off his own name. Like once it's known, right? Like that's how kind of how the world works now. Like once you're viral and you're known, you can make money off of that if you do it the right way. And you know, it's always kind of been like that. Now there's just different channels, but you know, those channels and those gates were a lot few and far in between, and maybe that's why people were able to get away with stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely how,
or at least think they're going to get away with it.
yeah, I mean, really, even not so far back as like the early 2000s, like the concept of everyone having a phone and camera on them at all time, like that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing until super
Changed the
recently.
world.
Text messages, texting. You know, like how many people have gotten outed because of the behaviors of their text thread? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I feel like it changes people's behaviors now, right? Because now people do stuff to become, to gain that momentum.
Yeah, no, dude.
On social media, like
Sure.
like you kind of, and then at the same time, people are more careful because they don't want to be exposed for what they do. So yeah, it's a lot to I don't know. The world's changing fast, man. It's a lot to try to keep up with.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
That's putting it real lightly. Yeah, it's changing. It's changing real fast, and it's a lot to keep up with for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, man. I don't know. Entertainment business.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like I've gotten to do a lot of really crazy things. I've made a lot of really good friends. We've done a lot of crazy shit all over the place. I mean, there's something about putting on a party that's just fun as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
And like, especially if it's like even functioning at 75%, it's like, all right, this is a good day. Nobody got hurt.
I think most function at 75%.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's good.
Yeah.
75% is like one of the things that I love and hate about doing this kind of work is that you accept that it's not going to be perfect. Like, you'll always strive for the perfect scenario. You'll always plan as much as you can, but you also know that some dumb shit is going to happen in the middle of it that you're not planning for, and you're going to have to fucking find a way around it. It's going to disrupt some other stuff.
That's a good percentage of your planning is planning for dumb shit that might just happen because people come with different intentions and some of them are not good. So, or it might start out good and not end well. So, a lot of times, people doing stuff. They're doing stuff that might change their personality, and you mix a bunch of that in one room, and it could get spicy, as we said before.
Oh, it gets real spicy. Gets real spicy. One of my favorite. This story actually involves R. Kelly. This was at a Bonnaroo a while ago. And
you had this one lined up, didn't you?
I did not, but it's
Let's go.
when I think of like funny things I found myself in. So I guess this was the first Bonnaroo that I went to because I wanted to like go walk around.
So R. Kelly performed at Bonnaroo.
R. Kelly performed at this Bonnaroo, yeah. And he was headlining the second stage. He opened with the remix.
It's Ignition.
And yeah, he opened with the remix.
That's a wild night.
And I was like, you know how Bonnaroo is. I'm just like walking around from the stages as the shows in the night are happening. And I stumble upon R. Kelly as this is happening. And I'm standing like, 100 feet away from the stage. All of a sudden, this huge circle opens around me. And in the center of that circle is a guy jerking off. Just tugging it. And I was like, that's enough R. Kelly. And I walked maybe a little bit further, maybe Primus or somebody was playing, some band was playing. I was like, all right, I'm going to just go check this out.
Wow. That's it.
But, you never know what you're going to fucking stumble on.
It's an interesting place to, yeah.
Well, I was like, how dare he? But then I thought, it's kind of right. It kind of fits the mood. And this was before any of the hardcore allegations start to stack up on him. But this was after I'm going to piss on you. Like this was after Dave Chappelle already made it a part of the lexicon. And like people were joking and like it was just a thing that people were saying.
Dave Chappelle, he just like he ruined it for R. Kelly. I mean, it was already ruined, but just like The way
he really put some nails in that coffin. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, R. Kelly was like, "Oh, maybe they've finally forgotten."
Never gonna forget. Just like
comes out with that.
Rick James and Prince. You'll never forget those skits.
Yeah, no, for
it's
sure.
Right up there. But,
fucking burn forever. But yeah, and New York is awesome in the sense that like the shit that we see here, the things that we have seen at shows are always, I don't know, there's just like a level of chaos that exists here that doesn't exist in other places. Like at any show in New York, any other artist that lives in New York might show up at it.
Oh yeah, especially the comedy clubs.
Even a small show, right? Even a small show at a small club. Fucking somebody who's mega famous and who's really good at whatever they do might just show up that night. And that's like I don't know. I feel
Fat Joe could be there any night,
He is. He's there every night. Okay, he's there every night. But that's kind of a prime example. He would be, or like Busta Rhymes, or any legendary hip hop artist.
It's like they live in the city and they're right always here. Going out. And if if the right opportunity presents itself, it's like they're on the stage.
No, dude, I remember one year at Gov Ball, I had a very angry Jadakiss in the car, but somebody wanted to have him come like do a guest spot for one song, and it took like 3 hours to get him a wristband, and he was fucking pissed. He was fucking super pissed. But it was one of those things. It's like some artist was like, "Hey, I'm doing this big show. Will you come do one song with me, Jadakiss?" And then like 20 people spent the whole day trying to get him into that festival. So.
Yeah, I mean, the guest appearance, man. It's just like
it's a unique thing that maybe there's some similar stuff that would happen in LA, but New York, I feel like has
its own way of doing it.
Yeah, no, seriously, like a crazy chaos factor. You never know who's going to show up.
And we have so many great artists, especially in hip hop, especially from the the 90s, early 2000s.
Every form of art, every form of art has some of the best people who do that kind of art here in the city. Every single form of art.
I love how those guys are rebranding though. Like, I don't know if you've seen Cameron and Mace. They have their own they have their own like sports podcast and.
No, but that's fucking amazing.
Dude, you have to. Like, I think kill a season. I feel like as big as it was, you know what I mean? Like, I think part of it's like because two guys that are like that were cool. They kind of came back together and got back together, and that's like part of the interest. And then it actually is a good and funny podcast, even though they do like cross some lines. But and now they're just
it's show business, dude. It's entertainment, man.
Well, like I think they just like they got to deal with Mark Jackson. Like they're bringing on actual people from the sports, and they're supporting them. And like I don't know, it's just crazy to see that like crossover. Plus that the way just the way these guys are just like they're more popular. Some of the older rappers are more popular than the younger rappers. Just because, I mean, I guess because they were golden era.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And they, like you're saying, they've figured out ways to, maybe they're not releasing records every year, but they're still remaining relevant.
Yeah.
They figured out a way to continue their career.
Scarface did his Tiny Desk concert. I'm not sure if you've seen that. If you haven't seen that, you got
the highlights from that were pretty primo.
Yeah. Just like incredible, man. It's just, because they were making that music at a time where like they still had the feeling in the music and they were going through real shit, people go through shit nowadays, but like, it was just way crazier.
And it was really like this was before the money came into that, like the big mega corporate money came into that genre, like it was very reflective of, what they were experiencing. I don't know. It's like, you hear a lot of the original artists, even going back as far as like the 70s or 80s, and like the thought of making money from doing it was never even a thing that they thought about.
Yeah.
Like it's not, they were like, if I want money, I'll go do some other shit. I'm not doing this because I need to make a ton of money. It was a thing that kind of came later.
So now people only do it for money.
Yeah. Now where we're at now, where it's everything is for the fucking dollar.
Which is weird because you're like, I feel like sometimes the artist, like first or second albums, maybe third are like the best. But now that people are doing it, and that's because you were hungry, and then you get money and maybe you fall off. But like, maybe there's some balance where like people get better because they already have the money, and then now they're just doing it for the art. Like, I don't know, does that happen, or is that like a?
I mean, sure, I'm sure that does, but I'm sure every one of those scenarios that you described is, it's really like some people get the success and money and feel like, oh, I've made it, I don't need to try harder. And some people get the success and money and then they get like the imposter syndrome and they're like, man, I need to try harder to fool these people. Or like, you thought that was good, you just wait. I'm going to make something that's so much better than that in every single way. And also like not every artist has a lifetime of records. Some artists really only have like one record or two records, and it might take them a couple records to get the pinnacle record, but like that's all some people have, and all the record is just a staple, like a snapshot of how you're feeling at that point in time.
Yeah, it's a record. It's a recording. Yeah, right. It's just and that's why it's so hard to like. What about like that's they're saying Taylor Swift tried to reproduce her albums that she recorded that but she had issues with her labels and whatnot. But I've heard engineers say that they don't get the same feeling from the second recordings of it.
Yeah, well, what they're saying is they're not getting the same money in their bank account when the new recording of that song plays. That's what they're saying. Right. But I mean,
they don't want people to do it. They don't want that to become a trend.
I mean, especially Taylor Swift, like whatever music she's putting out is so hyper polished. It like you might hear some flaws in her earliest recordings, but there's probably somebody in her camp who's like, those first recordings, as commercially successful as they are, they're not perfect. They're not an accurate representation. They're diminishing the value of the brand because they're not, flawless.
They're not perfect. Yeah.
But, and like she uses auto-tune for sure.
A lot of people do.
For sure. Like it's okay. It's like, it's just a thing that's just the way shit is done now. People can't hear voices like we used to hear them. If you listen to records from like the 60s and the 70s, shit sounds horrible in comparison. Like people are being flat, musicians in the background playing out of tune. It was a little sloppier, but some of those are the most prized recordings of all time. And now we can't release anything unless everything is computer perfect. Something that will never sound that way when you see it live.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, they don't, sometimes they don't perform it the way that it's recorded. And, sometimes they have to. Sometimes they got to preserve themselves, right? Like to put that amount of oomph in it every time and do that every show, across all the shows.
Unsustainable, yeah.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, it doesn't bother me. And honestly, like, I've always been of the mindset where like just because you record something doesn't mean you have to play it.
True. I think 50 Cent said if you make records for yourself, you keep that shit in your own headphones.
Yeah, no, really.
But just sometimes you can do that.
The act or process of creation isn't. Some people really look at it. It has to be leading to somewhere, and sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times it doesn't.
I think that's the result of most creations is they don't lead to anywhere. But sometimes it's perfecting the craft too, right? So you have to mess up X amount of times to get one right.
That's what I mean. It's like that's sometimes it's not about creating a song. Sometimes it's just the process of creating. The practice creating, practice committing to an idea and moving forward with it, or knowing when to walk away from it, which are also valuable things to understand how to do.
Just because you work out doesn't mean you're going to be a bodybuilder, right? It's just you just have to. Sometimes you just have to do it to blow off steam, to vent, to just keep yourself occupied, and you know, I feel it also builds you as a character. You know, just it's a hobby, something to.
It's a super constructive
to grow your mind.
hobby to have. Yeah, like of the things to get your mind lost in, the creative. I don't know. I've just always seen the value for me. Like my peace of mind is always higher when I'm creating, or like consistently have creation as a part of my day.
I think especially music too, because it just listening to different notes and the way your mind interprets those, just it grows your mind in general. You know, different patterns, different sounds, and just constantly mixing those. Just, your mind gets bored easily. So it's ways, it's something to just keep your mind active and searching for new things through trying to create music. It's fun.
It is. And again, it's like, in my opinion, it's like a super constructive. Of the things you could spend time doing, spending time doing that is very rewarding in a bunch of different ways.
Oh yeah, I agree.
All right, well, sick. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you for taking this journey down this little road with me. We'll stay on. I'm gonna do this outro, and then we'll pick a topic for next time. But dude, thank you for coming on. And
great, man.
I don't know if you want to do any shout outs, any pointing to your pages, go right ahead. This is your time now. This is your time.
No, just shout out to you, man. Shout out to you for this interesting, excellent podcast. It's fun to do. It's always fun chatting with you, man. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, we always have good conversations. This is why I knew I needed to get you on here, man. That's why I knew that.
Yeah. If anybody does want to follow me, it's at Mo from Brooklyn on Instagram. That's like one of the only social medias I'm actually like checking and active on. So that's it.
Nice. Yeah, and I'll add a link to that in the descriptions and stuff.
Yeah.
But all right, cool, dude. This is gonna be airing on New Year's Eve, so happy New Year's, everyone. And
Happy New Year's.
We'll catch you on the next one. Mo, stay on.
This has been the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. The end. With your host, James Oliva. Executive producers, Clint G and James Oliva.
That's obnoxious.
Sound design, mix, and master by James Oliva.
Literally no one cares.
For more Totally Legitimate Business, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Totally Legitimate Business, or add us on TikTok at TLB Pod.
When will this end?
Thank you for listening. Now get back to work.
Move it along, buddy.